for daily Ask Reddit r/Ask Reddit. What is the snobbiest, most entitled thing you have ever witnessed from another person? Saw some like 12-year-old rich kid with his dad at Guitar Center buying like $6,000 worth of recording equipment. An item he was purchasing was on the lowest shelf, yet he snapped his fingers and pointed at it, telling an employee to fetch this for him. I would have liked to have seen the Guitar Center employee's reaction. I wouldn't react well to someone snapping their fingers at me, let alone asking me to fetch. I'd lose my job that day. Ex-friend was with me at lunch. The waiter came up to the table and she looked him up and down. She shook her head and said, no, go get someone else. I'm not putting up with you for the next hour. We weren't friends for long after that. She wouldn't tolerate the waiter based on his appearance. What did this guy look like? Just a young guy, white, sort of dorky, but nothing was wrong with him. It was really embarrassing for her. I sort of hope they spit in her food. A couple of years ago I had a study group going for a college course. We were usually together for a good 3 or 4 hours, so it was pretty common for someone to volunteer to go get food for everyone, and since they were the person getting us food, we would all kick in a little extra, so that the person getting the food didn't have to pay for this. Colloquially, if you fly, I'll buy. So one day one of the girls in the group announces she's going to Dunkin' Donuts about an hour into the study session. I look up and say, ooh, I'll buy if you fly, and she looks at me like I've grown an extra appendage and scoffs in this really disgusted tone. I don't bring food to other people. Servants do that. Keep in mind, we'd all been doing this for each other for weeks now. She knew it was a thing. I was completely floored. Definitely not the absolute worst, but I was on a plane for a few hours today and someone thought it was a good idea to play their music out loud for the whole plane because they couldn't be bothered to use headphones. I'm surprised the stewards didn't tell them to turn it down or offer them earphones. I was too. I fly all the time, and it isn't the first time someone's done that, but it's definitely the longest they've gotten away with it for. Back in the day, when I first began to do field work, I met someone who just got his PhD and truly felt like he was a shit. While we were out there, an old friend who he hasn't seen in years came up to him and greeted him using his first name. He actually stopped the person in the middle of their sentence and said, "Excuse me, my name is Doctor," and he was absolutely serious. This was about 10 years ago, and I now have a PhD, but I wouldn't imagine doing that to anyone. Really, the only people that refer to me as doctor are my students, if they don't use professor, or if I'm at a conference or something, and that is absolutely fine by me. I was in a work environment where everyone eventually got a master's or PhD. You either did that or left the field. There was a guy who had gotten his PhD and tried to get everyone to call him doctor. No one did and everyone made fun of him. He was maybe 3 to 4 years older than most of us and just further along the path that we were on. In a few years we would all be academically equal, but he would still be known as an asshole.
I should have your laptop. You're sick. You'll never use it? This was my ex-friend telling me, someone who was on my 30th round of chemo, that she, ex-friend, should get my new laptop that was sent to me by a charity run by my hospital. Wow. It's amazing how much indifference to human life and snobbish/entitled behavior seem to coexist. I hope you are doing better and that the chemo worked. And I really hope you're writing this on that laptop and she never got to use it.
When I got married the first time, I chose my high school best friend as my mom because we were still close at the time. She made it very clear that not only should she wear a different gown than the lowly bridesmaids, but it should also be a different color, so people could definitely tell just by looking that she was mom. In other words, special. It's usually done this way, a different color at least, so I don't know why she needed to make a point of saying it other than to just make sure everyone else felt bad. This is the TL. Doctor version, the saga of the dress continued long after my marriage even did. She also wanted my cousin, who's the closest thing I have to a sister, and was the only one of them not a size 16 plus ejected from the wedding party because her thinness and prettiness made more uncomfortable.